Hi everyone, and welcome to Geometric Advanced Stock Analytics. Today we are looking at NVIDIA. Okay, quick disclaimer before I get started. I am not a financial advisor and nothing here is financial advice. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. However, if you do like deep dive analytics and dashboards like this I'm going to show you today, please like this video and hit the subscribe button, because I think that this is a tool that would be really useful for all of us in our investing journeys. Okay, before I get started, I want to just let you guys know that as this channel continues to make videos, I am evolving how I talk about stocks and how I represent the metrics that I've created on my dashboard. There's terms that I should use and shouldn't use, and so just keep an eye on any comments I make below videos or updates I make to how I represent the data, just because I want to be as accurate as possible with how I'm describing the behavior of each of these stocks. Also, I've created a new summary dashboard in front of you right now that doesn't have the data on it, but it uses the data from my more detailed dashboard to create auto-generated text for a few key areas. And I'm hopeful that this will be useful to some people who maybe get a little overwhelmed by the numbers, but can really use this version of the spreadsheet to understand what's going on with the stock itself. So let me get my pen going here. As we can see, we're looking at NVIDIA Corporation right here that's currently trading at 188.15. Its industry is semiconductors and semiconductor equipment. And I'll get into these 4 questions down the left-hand side. So, has this stock outperformed its threshold? Recent data shows that this stock has outperformed its threshold and it's weakening. So we'll get into this on the next slide. We'll show how we calculate threshold, and then we'll show you how we determine whether it's strengthening or weakening over time. So basically, the way I do my analysis, if this is your first video, is that I look at 2 different periods or eras, and then I look at the exact same metrics in each of these 2 periods. And and how long these periods are basically depends on the user. My most recent period is the last year, and my first period is like from January of 2022 up to a year ago. And so there's a comparative part of this auto-generated stock that looks at these same metrics across those 2 eras. Now we get into the volatility of the stock. Recent data shows that this stock experiences volatility and is more stable than it used to be. So we'll get into the exact metrics there, but I mean that's kind of self-explanatory when we look at volatility, how often a stock is going up by a lot or down by a lot. Might give some of us heart attacks when those things happen. So it kind of helps you choose the stock that's right for you. If you got a strong stomach, you can pick more volatile stocks and be okay with it, or maybe you want some stocks that don't vary quite so much. Is this stock streaky? So what I do on my dashboard is I look at 5-day winning streaks and 5-day losing streaks, and I compare the number of each to determine what kind of streakiness is the stock. Does it have more 5-day winning streaks or 5-day losing streaks? And then how has that been behaving over time? So for NVIDIA, recent data shows that this stock has had more winning streaks than losing streaks and has been getting worse. Is this stock expensive? So I say recent data shows this stock is expensive compared to its industry average. Basically what I'm looking at here is just the P over E ratio and seeing how the P over E ratio of NVIDIA compares to the average P over E ratio of all the stocks in its industry. In my database here, I have over 5,000 stocks. I don't know how many of them fall into the same category, but the average of those that do is, I guess, lower than what NVIDIA's P over E is. At the top here, we talk about the trend quality, and the trend quality of NVIDIA is high. The stock trend quality is high and the trend quality is declining. So that's the comparative between the 2 eras. This is what the most recent data looks like, as having a high trend, but is actually lower than it used to be. And then finally, we have my 4-tiered rating system over here on the top right. Basically, it's an analysis, a representation of the trend quality, what it is now and how it's been changing over time. And NVIDIA falls into the moderate quality trend characteristic or rating right here. All right, let's jump over to my more detailed dashboard here. And I'm going to zoom in to the top corner up here. There we go. My pen is active. As you can see, if you had this dashboard in your possession, NVIDIA is chosen up here in yellow. And then after that, you pick your periods here. So you only define period 1. Period 2 is automatically defined up to our most recent date, trading date here. So I've put in January 3rd, 2022 as the start date, and that ending on November 7th, 2024, which is like a year ago this past Friday. And then the period 2 is already defined. The first stat we look at here is the threshold outperformance index. This is something that I've come up with. I haven't seen anyone else do it. Basically, we look at over this period, how often the stock went up 53.9% of the time. And based on its average ups and its average down, what was the threshold amount or the threshold win frequency to break even? And then I compare those two to get my threshold outperformance index here of 1.09. Doing the same thing in period 2, we get 1.07. But in both periods, the stock is outperforming its threshold, but it's outperforming it by a little less in period 2. Down here, we start to look at stability score. Basically, I'm counting the days above a 3% change in the positive direction and below a negative 3% change in the negative direction. And so we have 12.6% of our days are above 3%, 10.7% are below negative 3%. What you're left with is 77% of the days, and we translate that into a score by just making it a 0.77. Doing the same thing for period 2, we see it's 0.82, which means it's slightly less volatile than it was in period 1. I'm going to escape out of here, and then zoom in down here. Next, we have the positive trend persistence index. This is when I'm looking at the streakiness of the stock. So counting the 5-day winning streaks, counting the 5-day losing streaks. So there's 17 5-day winning streaks and 7 5-day losing streaks. So basically that's 71% of the winning streaks of the 5-day streaks are winning streaks, and we translate that into an index, just making it 0.71. And then we do the same thing here for period 2. It was 0.6, a little bit less, but still most of the 5-day streaks are winning streaks compared to the 5-day losing streaks. Let's get out of here, and then we're going to get up to my threshold outperformance index right here. So I'm going to escape out of this one more time because I missed. Let's get down here. Just below our positive trend index, we have our trend quality index. For period 1, it's 0.921, and for period 2, it's 0.917. Now, this is a value I've obtained from looking at the chart I was just about to show you. So I'm going to hop back up to that chart, and there we go. So basically what's happening here. So the very first stat I showed you was the threshold outperformance index. But what I showed you was the average of an entire period. What I've done here is I've taken a 51-day rolling average and plotted that stat over time. So when you do that, and then you throw a trend line on top of that, you can start to see how the threshold outperformance index is behaving over time. So to go from this to the trend quality index that I showed you down below, so this model uses trend line and the standard deviation of the data to gauge how stable or fragile the current trend behavior is. Let me clean up the graph a bit here. So right now the reading suggests, if we look at the latest trend line here, latest point on the trend line, and then we look at the standard deviation of the data, the trend suggests a high confidence in the persistence of this trend regime, meaning the stock has been behaving consistently relative to its threshold. If I escape out of this, now let me clean it up first, and then we escape out of this. We do the exact same thing here for the threshold outperformance index for period 2. And so we plot that index over time, we come up with a trend line, then we use the standard deviation of the data plus the latest point on the trend line, And right now, it also suggests a high confidence in the persistence of this particular trend regime. So right now, the stock in both periods has been behaving consistently relative to its threshold. All right, let's get out of here. And now let's start to scroll down and look at these different ratios here. I'm going to zoom in on this one, actually. Let's get in here. So on these charts here, I have two metrics that I'm looking at. In the blue, we have the average win percentage, a 51-day rolling average of the win percentage over time for period 1. We can see that it's been trending upward, and it ended at 60% at the end of period 1. And then the other stat we're looking at is the up over down ratio. So the size of the up days over the size of the down days calculated over a 51-day rolling average. And so you can see how it's trending here. We want this number to be over 100% because, you always kind of want your up days to be bigger than your down days. And so it's trending in that direction during that period. If we escape out of here and then we zoom in on this side, we can see that over period 2, there's a slight upward slope to the win percentage over time, ending, and we always want that to be above this 50% threshold. Here you see sometimes over those 51-day rolling averages, it gets below. It spends a lot of time above, though. That is something we like to see. And then for the orange, which is we want to be over this 100% line as much as possible, we see that the trend line is definitely pointing in the right direction, that the up days are bigger than the down days. And many of these data points of the 51-day rolling average are falling above that 100% line, which is good to see. Scrolling down here, the next stat we have here is basically the RSI. I've plotted it over period 1 and 2. It's good information. Basically, an RSI is a momentum metric to tell you if the stock has been oversold or overbought. And if it's in either direction, there might be an indication of a correction coming. Not always. It's just another metric that people look at to see, to try to make good stock buying decisions. Right now, we see that NVIDIA is right in the middle here. It's not indicating one way or the other. Scrolling down, I'm going to clean these things up. Scrolling down, I got to get out of that. And just what we've got here is simply the price per share for NVIDIA. So starting in January 2022, it really started to take off, kind of leveled out for the second period here, but recently, at least for over the last half of the previous year of data, it's been going up pretty steadily. Let's delete that out of here. Oops, I got to escape. Let's scroll up, and there's just a couple more data points to look at. We have price over earnings. So NVIDIA is 53.5 here. The industry average is 40. That's how we got on the previous dashboard summary page, how it said that NVIDIA was expensive for its industry. It was just comparing these two numbers. We have the market cap. We all know it's huge. And the annual rate of return for NVIDIA, that's basically the first data period 1 compared to the last data period 2, annualized, and it's at 60.9%. And then finally up here, we have the moderate quality trend overall rate. All right, sorry about that. So we scroll up to the top, and I'm going to get my pen again, and we have the moderate quality trend. And so what that's basically looking at, first we look at how good the period 2 trend is, and we see that it's high. It's very good, but it's actually smaller than period 1. So that's what prevents it from being a high quality trend and puts it in the moderate quality trend. I mean, it's my ranking system that I've developed. There's very few stocks that make it in the high quality trend rating, but it's like everything here is for information purposes, trying to educate us as investors. All right, that is everything for today. Let me undo that. So in the near future, near future, moderate future, I'm planning to sell this dashboard online for personal use. So I'm very interested to hear any feedback in the comments about what you find useful, what could be improved, what maybe is a bit confusing to understand, or what needs a little bit more clarity. I am very open to all kinds of positive and negative feedback. I need to turn this into I need to turn this dashboard into something valuable, something that can add value to your investing process or investing analysis. So if I hope to have anyone kind of purchase this for download, it has to be of good quality. So please, any feedback would be great. And then also to wrap this up, everything in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's not financial advice, and I am not a licensed financial advisor. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making any investment decisions. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.